So what a first day of WTC final it was. It was really deserving of the opening day of a big platform like a WTC platform and WTC final. It was a fantastic day of cricket. 14 wickets fell, and at the end of the day, it showed what it was expected to, because two great bowling lineups, when they are playing on a slightly bowler friendly pitch at the Lords on the first day, this is what you expected to get, and this is what we saw. Fantastic bowling from both sides, and at the same time also some great performances from the proven match winners from both the sides. Yes, it was Rabada for South Africa in the first innings, who has already established his credential both at the world stage and against Australia. He has taken 49 wickets in 10 tests against Australia with an average of 23. He had taken 47 wickets in 10 test matches in the last 2 years WTC cycle with an fantastic average of 19.37 and also 19.97, and also in the last two tests at Lords that he has played, he had taken 13 wickets with an average of 19.37. So he has shown what a great bowler he has been, and especially in the last few years he has hit the peak form, and he is Australia's biggest threat, and he once again proved himself to be the biggest threat. At every stage he came on to bowl. He really destroyed the top order with 2 wickets in the same over to reduce Australia to a very low score in the beginning and put pressure on them. And just when Australia looked again set to make a recovery with that typical Australian never say die spirit, and were at one stage 192 for 5 and threatening to bat South Africa out of the game, he again started showing his mettle and started taking wickets to ultimately ended up with 5 wickets. And Pfeiffer was brilliant. Pfeiffer he had, and once again he has done great to his reputation and his credential in the test arena as well as against Australia. And we had again expected Marco Jansen with his form in the last 1 year to be a handful. He again proved to be a handful, and a great support cast for Rabada by taking 3 wickets, and that two of them were majorly responsible for reducing Australia to just 211 after a promising middle order performance with Steve Smith, Bew Webster, and to some extent Carey. Now coming to the batting, in spite of all the havoc that Rabada created and some great bowling from Jansen, one man stood firm, and that had to be Steve Smith, because he is a player of a different caliber. He had fabulous record at Lords, he had fabulous records against all the countries including South Africa, and he had fabulous record at the big stage. In the last WTC final he had scored a century against India, so this time he was not far off. Just when everything looked hopeless for Australia, he stood firm and scored 66 and was looking clearly on his route to achieve one more big turn and maybe a big century, and would have batted South Africa out of the match. But then very strangely he got out to a non-regular bowler like Markram. It was a cheap wicket for South Africa and a lucky one, and Steve Smith, knowing how he loves to bat and score runs, he would have got it. But then by then he had already broken Warren Bradstreet's overseas record as the highest run accumulator at Lords of 575. He had already beaten when he scored 51, and he ended up with 66. In the process he beat Sir Don Bradman's record of 551 and Sir Garfield Sober's record of 571 runs. And then Bew Webster also did his contribution. He was at sea against Rabada. He was also once was clearly out, but the South Africa didn't go for a referral, and he could have got out in any ball of Rabada's opening spell to him. But then great credit to him to never give up, to not feel despondent or feel hopeless. He tried to hang in and tried to play his knock there, and then ultimately he gained confidence and he scored highest run for Australia. And what a fabulous 72 he scored to give them whatever respectability with that 211. Otherwise without him they could have ended up with 150 or 160. So great performance by a player who was playing only a second test after fabulous performance against India at BGT in Sydney, and once again he showed his utility. Though he was playing as a lower order all-rounder, but he showed his utility by his fabulous batting. Now coming to the South African batting, everybody knew that's where they are vulnerable, and that's where they are little suspect because of the lack of experience. They have 8 of their players, none of their batters other than Markram or Barron had played at Lords or against Australia. 8 of the players in this WTC were not actually part of the last any test in Lords. So naturally They were suspect. All Australia needed was some quality bowling in the beginning to put pressure in the top order, and then when you have Stark, you are assured of that. That person had taken in the last 5 to 6 years maximum number of wickets in the opening over of his bowling, both in the Test match as well as in the one days. So he has been a fabulous early wicket giver for Australia, and once again he took 2 wickets to put South Africa in the back foot. Never made South Africa feel that 211 is a low score they are chasing. So he made that 211 look like a mountain, and by taking those 2 early wickets, and then the rest of the bowlers showed their mettle, and South Africa did a fatal error of going into their shell and trying to just play out the new ball of the Australian bowlers. But they are not like that. The pitch had something. The bowlers are too qualitatively high, so they were always going to test you by taking wickets if you were completely shutting yourself down against them, and that's what happened. And finally South Africa ended up at 43 for 4. They have still Babuma, and also to give him company is Bedingham. They are 2 frontline batters, so the advantage with South Africa is what they lack with experience they can make up with a slightly longer batting lineup compared to Australia. So they have 2 frontline batters still batting even with 43 for 4, and then they have Varane, who is a tremendous batter who has been performing so brilliantly in the last season to come, and then they have Marco Jansen, who is more than a decent bowling all-rounder who can contribute heavily and can stitch up good partnership for South Africa. So 169 runs lead that Australia still has looks humongous and like a mountain, but if a couple of good partnership comes, South Africa can come near, and then the match would be completely even, and will be left to just 2 second innings knocks or 2 second innings performances from both the teams. But if Australia manages to snap out the remaining wickets and establish a decent lead, even if a lead of 50-60, that would be really decisive, or that can be decisive from the Lord's pitch where South Africa is going to bat last. So tremendous first day, great performance by proven match winners, and an observing second day and a thrilling second day is in store. It may decide which way final the game match is going to take a decisive turn. Thank you.